Hello and welcome to the Low Carb Conversations podcast. I'm your host, Holly Jean, and we have Leah with us today. Hi, Leah.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
And this is very exciting because we are now on video. It is not just audio recording for the podcast anymore. We have video, we have a YouTube channel, so you can find us on YouTube. It's just Low Carb Conversations, right?
Yeah, that's
Podcast,
right.
Low Carb Conversations podcast.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so we have a couple episodes up there already. We have was Kate our first recording?
Kate was our first
Live?
recording. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect. We will go over on this co-host episode who our last guests were over the month. So you can go back and check out any episodes you may have missed. And we recently had on Lily Nichols, and we spoke with Lily about all the things you need to know about whether or not a low carb diet is safe or healthy during pregnancy. And she went into some common pregnancy myths around nutrition. We just had a really great conversation, right, Leah?
Yeah, I love Lily. She's just so practical and just lays it out just how it is and has that understanding that mums can't do everything and just do the best that you can do kind of attitude, which I really love. And but she has the science to back it up with the statements that she's making as well. And I just really find her really great to talk to and find her conversation so refreshing. So yeah, and that was the last episode we just did. So hopefully if you haven't caught up yet, that's the most recent one and it's well worth a listen, even if you aren't trying to conceive and don't have children or not pregnant. It's still a great one to pass on to friends or family that might be wanting to do that, or just to have that extra knowledge.
Yeah, or if you're thinking about becoming pregnant in the future, she does touch on how your nutrition now actually sets you up for a healthy pregnancy in the future. So definitely give that one a listen. And then before that, we spoke with Kate Crowell and we talked all about hydration, right, Leah?
Well, our favorite topic, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like Kate as well. She's very just a great person to talk to, really down to earth, and had a lot of great tips to share about hydration and electrolytes and just even about how to run a business if you're a nutritional therapy practitioner or looking to work with one. She gives a great explanation of how she works with clients and goes through the foundations of what we do with our clients as well.
Yeah. And I like that one. Hydration sometimes can be boring. And I know a lot of people always say, oh, you drink more water, drink more water. But since our bodies are made up mostly of water, it really is important. So she has some good points there. And then before that, we started off the month with Jean David. She is the CEO of Outer Isle Gourmet. And of course, Outer Isle Gourmet are the makers of the cauliflower thins and the cauliflower pizza crust that Leah and I have been loving. I actually have just ordered more today because when we moved, I wasn't able to bring all my groceries with me. And so I just restocked up because we're going to be doing a pizza night on Friday where the kids and I will make our own pizzas. So I just ordered some of those. But anyways, we have a really great conversation with her. It's all about the importance of reducing inflammation throughout our body. And she's really big on reducing inflammation through diet. And that is what inspired her to create her company. And really, she just wants to make it easy for people to make that transition into healthier food choices to reduce inflammation, which of course is the precursor to many of the diseases that we see. So we had a really great conversation with her. So go ahead and check out that episode if you haven't listened to that one yet.
And you had fun doing that one solo that week as well.
I did. And I'm glad we weren't on video yet on that one because I was in the process of moving and things are just scary.
I know everyone can have a glimpse into our lives now with the video on. So like you're used to hearing our voices, but if you want a glimpse into our life, you might even catch a child running in the background every now and then while we're trying to record. And I think back to the early days when I used to record in the bathroom, but luckily I'm not doing that anymore. I'm in an office.
That's funny. And I will promise to always have pants on. I know we've seen like those videos of people like recording with just tops on and then they suddenly have to get up for something. It's like, oops, I'm in my pajamas or my underwear. So
We
we
are
do have
wearing clothes.
bottoms on. We have clothes on.
You can see us now. We're proving it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. And so today we wanted to talk about a couple articles that have been out. And this first one here is always fun. I like doing these articles where it talks about diets, do's and don'ts and stuff, but this one actually has some good stuff to discuss. But the title of this article is 12 Diets You Should Never Try, According to Health Experts.
I love those health experts. And we can do the air quotes, health experts.
That's right. That's right. I was thinking, it's like, I like doing articles like this because first of all, like this particular article, it's written by a journalist and it reads like someone who was just given an assignment, like here, you need to deliver a word count on this topic of diets. And she just did a basic internet search, pulled whatever first came up and just kind of plopped it into an article. And that's really what I felt the whole time I was reading this thing. So a quick summary for those of you who don't have the article in front of you. It talks about like, how do you know if a diet is right for you? And you know by the way you love it or hate it. If you don't hate the diet, that's the right diet for you. It says the one diet to avoid is the one that's not sustainable. So basically you're given a free pass to do whatever you want.
I know I could be sustainable and eating donuts constantly. That's the right diet for me, right?
You know what? I don't know if I could do the donut diet, but I would definitely do the chips and salsa and ice cream diet. That would be my go-to. But it says, so these diets include diets that cut too many calories or plans that are just not compatible with your lifestyle. You know, donuts are compatible with lifestyles, right? It includes low carbohydrate, high protein, intermittent fasting methods. All these diets, they say, may be effective in the short term, but they're simply not sustainable for most people, which I believe many people in our audience would disagree. Many people in our community would disagree. I know Leah and I would disagree. But it does pick apart a couple. I'll just go through the list of what the diets are, and then we can go through and discuss a few of them. It lists the Atkins diet, the keto diet, the snake diet, which I'd never heard of before.
No.
And it's not eating snakes.
Oh,
I had to do I know. And now that I'm in the country where I have snakes, I was like, oh, we'll get to that one.
I wouldn't be eating any snakes in Australia. They're all deadly.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It includes juicing, the Whole30 diet, but specifically the Whole30 for weight loss, any detox diet or product, an HCG diet, the baby food diet, the boiled egg diet. It also lists, I know, not the green stuff. I could probably just eat mashed baby bananas all the time. But it also includes the paleo diet, the paleo vegan diet, which I know Mark Hyman has made very popular because he calls it the pagan diet, and then the alkaline diet. So those are the ones that this article says to avoid. Leah, what stood out to you here? Where should we start with this one? There's so many places.
I know there's so many places to start, isn't there? I feel like, well, you know, I'm very intrigued by this snake diet. Let's have a look at that one.
Okay. What did it say about the snake diet? Okay, so the snake diet, they called this one a fad diet, which includes prolonged fasting. So this diet is you initially do 2 fasting periods, one for 48 hours and then one for 72 hours. And then you do a low carbohydrate, high fat meals consumed between fasting periods. I have no idea why it's called a snake diet.
Yeah, it seems like that's
maybe
just
it's because
intermittent.
it's like up and down and slithering. But yeah,
I don't know. It seems to me that that is really just intermittent fasting, isn't it? Or just like reducing your fasting window. You're just eating in a reduced window time frame and fasting the other times. That's what it seems
That's what
like
it
to me.
sounds like. I mean, it is more of a prolonged fast. So I know some of the
Mm,
intermittent fasting models are more of like a 16-8,
16,
and
8,
this one
yeah.
is longer for a 48 and 72. And that could be difficult for someone who is eating a standard American diet, who's a sugar burner. That is a really long time to go without eating and being comfortable, because that's even a little bit of a long time to go for someone who is metabolically strong and can just switch into burning fat for fuel, which has like the decreased hunger sensations. And so someone who is used to doing shorter intermittent fasting and used to burning fat for fuel probably could stretch out the longer fasting periods. And I would think that would be more of like a therapeutic diet, because then your body really steps into that oh gosh, I can't,
Autophagy. Yeah.
autophagy phase. So you
Yeah.
would be seeing like more cellular regeneration there.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
I don't know why they listed, what did they say for this one being,
I
why
mean,
it's not good?
like
Oh,
I
it just
think,
says safety for long-term effects are not known, and they're just calling it a fad
right.
diet. Where
Yeah.
I think this is definitely actually a therapeutic diet, where if you looked in more like published research journals, you would see that diets like these are used therapeutically regularly.
Yeah. And also with everything, it's that high fat meal, like what type of high fat meal are they recommending here? If it's just eat any fats, then we know that that's not going to be healthful. That can still cause inflammation if we're eating trans fats or seed oils or anything like that. So that's really not going to be helpful in terms of that diet as a whole. But if it's about eating real food in between with like high fat real food meals and eating natural fats, then I think it could be a good way for some people, just so long as they're not not coming from a standard American diet like you were suggesting, or like their blood sugar roller coaster is really high and it's causing a lot of dysregulation, or there's any underlying conditions like thyroid and stuff like that, can really just throw everything out of whack when you start fasting for really long periods of time. But again, and I think we're probably going to say this throughout the whole of all of these diets, is it's all bio individual, so we really need to tune into our body and see how we're feeling. So if we start on the snake diet and we don't feel good, doesn't mean we need to stay on the snake diet. We can do some underlying work first, like regulating our blood sugar, just regulating our blood sugar by eating 3 regular meals. And then once we start becoming more into that fat burning state, then look at some smaller fasts and then gradually build up to some of those larger fasts. And then that might be really great and beneficial for some people.
Yeah. And you know what? I know fasting is a big topic and we talk about it a lot. And a lot of people who are doing a low carb or keto lifestyle do incorporate fasting, but you don't have to do fasting. Like there's no rule out there saying that fasting has to be any part of your diet or lifestyle.
That's
So
right.
just because everyone else is doing it doesn't mean you have to do it.
All right, which one are you going to pick next? Is it the baby food one?
No, I actually want to pick on this Atkins diet one, because the
Yep.
Atkins diet is actually what I did um, after I graduated high school and I stopped playing sports and I gained a lot of weight. It was the Atkins diet that actually helped me lose weight and become healthier and start being interested in diet and nutrition. So this one kind of beats it up by saying, oh, the author of the article pulled notes from a doctor from a chiropractic center, and he says that the Atkins diet was an idea to include high fat and red meats as your primary component of your meals, and the concept was that you just lose weight this way. But it says that the problem with this diet is that the high concentrations of red meat and unsaturated fats can cause many health problems, including heart disease and high cholesterol. And I know we have had many guests on the show. I know we've talked about this on the show that just talks about how that's actually not true. Even there's a study recently that came out in the Lancet, just like concluding that people who followed a low carbohydrate diet actually had a very small increased risk of dying, especially if they replace those carbohydrates with animal food sources. So there's just a lot of half truths or not full truths and why this isn't a safe diet. And so I wanted to kind of pick that one apart. And really, there's a lot of research pointing to sugar consumption as playing the biggest role in heart disease over saturated fat. So let's
Yeah.
stop picking on Atkins.
Yeah, that's right. And I think, like, we've evolved as well. Like, originally Atkins kind of was very loose on the guidelines of the types of the quality of food,
Definitely.
but that's definitely
Yeah.
been improved on over the years,
Yeah.
saying that quality
I mean,
does
that would
matter.
be, yeah, it would be like the same as like a dirty keto diet.
Yeah,
Like to
that's
me,
right.
I feel like the Atkins diet and the keto diet are very, very similar.
Yeah.
Um, in fact, I don't even know how to tell them apart, just, tomato, tomato, in my opinion. Um, but yeah, quality does matter.
That's right.
And it's not just butter and bacon anymore.
Yeah. Bacon on top
Those
of butter
those
on
are
top of
still there, but
butter.
that's not all it is.
That's right.
Which one do you want to talk about next?
Oh, what about boiled egg diet?
Um,
I
that's
just
just
think
like I like eggs, but this is saying that you eat boiled eggs for 2 whole
weeks.
weeks and that's all you eat. I I don't
Yeah.
even think I can't even eat eggs every day during the week without getting sick of eggs.
I know. Well, I've heard in some circles of the egg fast to help you to get into ketosis. Like, I know some keto people recommend fasting on eggs, and I think it's like 3 days you eat eggs for, and that's it. And I don't know that it matters if they're boiled or not. I don't know what the idea is between just eating boiled egg. I mean, like, if I was going to choose which way to have my eggs done, I would never choose boiled eggs. Like, I just think it's like so boring and
Right.
cold. Like, what are we going to eat? Some cold boiled eggs? Ugh, or then I'm going to reheat them. Ugh.
And I definitely don't want to eat a hot boiled egg either. Like
No.
it just sounds gross.
Oh, you're standing by the sink and you're like trying to peel the egg and it's like boiling hot. I'm going to eat this egg. I'm starving. Maybe that's the idea. You starve yourself because you can't be bothered to peel these eggs all the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this one, it has an outrageous claim that you can lose up to 24 pounds in 2 weeks by only eating eggs. And I think the message here is I would steer clear of any diet that has outrageous claims like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you're not eating anything other than eggs. So if you're coming from a standard American or Australian diet, like, okay, you've already just taken out all those foods of inflammation, sugar, like processed foods, maybe bread, all of those things. So naturally, the body is going to start dropping weight because you've reduced all that kind of food. And then eggs are
Right.
very nutritious and have, they're almost like a complete meal in every egg. But I don't know, these mono diets to me are just like, even though there's a lot of stuff, nutrients in eggs, what am I missing out on if by just eating eggs? And just the boredom factor, I would be fatigued by day 2 eating just eggs.
Yeah. Yeah. And maybe that's one thing the author got right by picking this diet. Yes, it's not sustainable. It's not nutritious long term, even though I know egg is a perfect food. You are going to be missing out on a bunch of other nutrients if you're only eating eggs. At least this one's only for a short term. But you also have to ask, like, what's the point? Like, why?
Yeah.
Because
It's not
be
sustainable
one of
either,
those crash
because
diets.
every
Right.
time you go back to eating your regular diet after it, and then you got to eat more eggs each time. I just think, oh, and so many people are sensitive to eggs as well and don't realize it. And, like I work with a lot of clients who have egg sensitivities. Just it's very common, and they might not even realize it, but the eggs can cause bloating, it can cause outbreaks in the skin, like all those kind of things. So yeah, just being cautious of eating a lot of eggs, and also the quality of the eggs too, because, if you're not getting good quality eggs and you're just buying supermarket, factory fed eggs, that the nutrients in those aren't going to be anywhere as good as what's in, pasture raised, grass fed chicken. So
Yeah, no, that's an excellent point. But since you brought up allergies, maybe we can talk about Whole30 for the next one.
okay.
Now, I will give this article credit for this one because it did mention that Whole30 is just not the diet. It's not a diet to do if you're doing it for weight loss, because the Whole30 is meant to help you identify foods that could cause digestive problems or inflammation. And so you are removing a lot of those offending foods that people tend to be most reactive to. But this one just calls it out for saying that if you're restricting your eating for that much just to lose weight, it's not sustainable as well, because the whole 30 diet is very restrictive. But the good thing about that is it's not meant to be sustainable. It's whole 30. It's a 30-day diet, and it's really more of a self-exploration, learning experience, learning about your body and how it responds to foods and how it should feel and how it does feel when you eat certain things. So there's
Yeah,
that.
it's
So
like
it does at least differentiate.
it's like the a great elimination diet or great sugar detox. It's like the first of those ones that was kind of really packaged up nicely and accessible for everybody to kind of obtain. And I mean, I did Whole30. That's what got me introduced to paleo right back in the day. I think when it first started, I read It Starts with Food. I did a Whole30.
Such a good book. Yeah.
I felt fantastic. I felt so good. And that's when we just decided to introduce paleo into the whole family after that. And that's what kicked off my weight loss journey when I lost 30 kilos. So, maybe not sustainable to do Whole30 exactly the same way all the time, but it really gave me a great starting point of knowing what was good for my body and what wasn't good for my body. And then I was able to leave those foods behind that weren't serving me and add other foods in that were really great and nutritious and made me feel good.
Yeah, awesome. And that's exactly what it's supposed to do. Although I've heard from so many clients that I've worked with who do Whole30 as a weight loss thing, or I feel like the education piece is missed on a lot of people and they don't take the time to actually learn about those things. They just look at the list of, okay, I can't eat these things, and they're just checking off the days until they can get to that 30 days. So then they can go right back to their eating like their normal way of eating. So I do love the Whole30 for all the things that you've mentioned. And but I also agree with the article that it's not a diet to do if you're just doing it to try to lose weight. You're missing the point.
Yeah. And we could also say the same for the HCG diet. Oh my gosh. Have you ever tried that diet before?
No, I don't even think I've heard about this, but anything where I'm like, I saw injections and I was out.
Yeah,
Like
I
I'm
know
not
it's
injecting anything for a diet.
I did it once, like in my days of, searching around for trying to find something to help with weight loss. And basically I didn't take injections though. I took a liquid that you could kind of drink, which I think had the same thing in it. And basically, yeah, you eat nothing and take this liquid, and it's basically calorie restriction to help you get through. But seriously, all it did was just mess up my metabolism. Like I felt worse than I'd ever felt before. I didn't even ever get to that point where I was like, this is worth doing because I'm losing so much weight. You know how sometimes that kind of mind kicks in then, not in a good way, but you know what I mean? Like you kind of like, well, I don't feel hungry and I'm restricting my food and I'm losing weight, but I didn't even get to that point. It was just truly, I think a very low period of trying this diet. And I know people who have done it and had great success, but then put all the weight back on again. And it's purely for a weight loss diet. There's nothing, I think, that in this diet there's nothing that's nutritionally good, except for that if someone's needing to lose weight fast, I think that's kind of what happens there.
Yeah, but like you said, this is an extremely low calorie diet. I think this article says 500 calories.
Yeah.
Like that's hardly any food at all. And so you're not getting enough nutrition to support your body off of 500 calories. And like you said, the metabolism, you're going to ruin your metabolism because your body's always going to adjust. If you're only feeding your body 500 calories, it will shut down body systems and processes to conserve energy, knowing that it's only getting those 500 calories. And as soon as you start adding in more calories, the weight's going to come back on.
Exactly. Yeah.
And your metabolism won't be as forgiving the next time you try to cut calories.
So that one is worthy of the list.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. The other ones on here, I did think it was interesting, like to do paleo and the paleo vegan, or the pagan. That actually, those are nice ties into the next one, but I couldn't really understand. Like to me, I feel like these are both very good diets because they are focusing on whole foods, vegetables, things that come from the earth, things that come from nature. You're eating animal products, earthly grown
I, I
vegetables and fruit products. So
I think it's always the same arguments that have been around for years. They feel like you're eliminating a whole food group, but then, like, on the other hand, they'll say that veganism is a good diet, where you're eliminating a whole food group of meat products, animal products. But paleo's a bad diet because you're eliminating carbohydrates, and then you're not even really eliminating that many carbohydrates anyway. Like, I think that's a myth to think that paleo's low carb, because you are eating a lot of vegetables and some starchy carbs in the
right,
better
right.
form of them. Yeah. So
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's inconsistent with what's considered a good diet, what's not considered a good diet. And this is why it's so confusing for people to try to figure out nutrition and how they should eat. But in my opinion, these are the recommendations of these diets are
it's
spot
yeah.
on.
Yeah, that's right. And it's not worthy of a list of diets to avoid, I I believe, especially when we're promoting eating whole foods through paleo and vegan diets. So I don't know, it's very subjective to who wrote the article and who's paying for the article, I feel.
Agreed. I didn't dig deep enough in to see who that is. Okay, so I think we'll agree that, yeah, let's skip the baby food diet because you're a grown up. We don't need to be eating baby food anymore. And we will skip the hard boiled egg diet.
Mm, that's right.
Uh, yeah,
But yeah,
we'll just skip those.
looking at them objectively, I think, and doing what works for you. So maybe, there may be a time and place where you might need to cook all your foods and have them more already broken down, which is maybe what the baby food diet's coming at in terms of a therapeutic diet. Maybe your digestion is really compromised and you need to eat some more soups and stews and things like that. I don't know if we need to mash everything like we do for babies, but maybe just having everything kind of like a little bit more broken down for the digestion system for a therapeutic diet, but not something long term. And if we're doing it to lose weight, then I have no understanding of why we would be looking at a baby food diet. It's like going back to
Yeah.
those days where you were having like the lemon detox diet and everything had to be drunk out of a straw, or you could only drink lemon juice all day, or those kind of things. Grapefruit diets that were popular in the 70s or whatever. You could only eat grapefruit all day. Let's just like, come on, common sense, I think, here.
I was just gonna say that. I was like, the bottom line here is use common sense. Maybe common sense just isn't so common anymore, but I think within most dietary systems, you can look at them objectively and maybe just take out the one nugget of wisdom that makes sense to you or that resonates with you, or that does work with your diet and lifestyle. Just because a diet has this list of black and white rules that you have to follow doesn't mean that you have to stay within those black and white rule guidelines. Like, you are allowed to ebb and flow and mix diets and do whatever you want and combine your own diet that makes you feel good, and not starving all the time and keeps your energy up.
Here, here.
Here.
Here,
All
here.
right. What's our other article, Leah?
Well, this one, so coming back to the paleo diet, this article is suggesting now they've had some new research that that paleo ancestors didn't stop cutting their carbs, and we should stop cutting our carbs because they didn't actually do that. And again, like, I just want to say paleo isn't a low carb diet. It is a lower carb diet compared to the the standard American or Australian diet, but it's not a low carb diet as such. It still allows for some great carbohydrates in there in the forms of vegetables. It just takes away all the processed carbohydrates again. So going back to our episode where we talked all about carbs a few weeks ago, you can go back and listen to that to know the difference between the different carbs. But this article really is just saying, some researchers suggested that eating meat helped early humans' brains evolve to be larger. So dieters seeking to emulate their ancestors rely on meat-heavy, low-carb diets like keto. But a new study suggests Neanderthals and their ancestors ate plenty of starchy carbs. And they realized this by finding they'd found traces of ancient bacteria on teeth. And they started looking into that, which found that they believe their ancestors ate a carb-rich plant food diet to meet the energy demands of their increasingly bigger brains. So it wasn't meat. They're now trying to form this argument that says it was like plant-rich foods. And so this was done with via a team of anthropologists at the Harvard University and another institute in Germany. And so they're basically trying to make an argument here, I think, to say that they ate plants, and it might have even been plants that made our brains bigger, not so much meats. But I did like, there was one little bit I read in the article that I thought was really good. It was saying the starchy tubers our ancestors ate were also different than our contemporary carbs. They were nutrient dense, higher in fiber, and richer in vitamins. And it's not really fair to compare wild root vegetables with things like pizza and pasta. They're really different in their nutritional makeup and composition. So I did like that little bit of the article at the end there where they were talking about that. So Holly, what were you thinking as you read through this article? Did you have any thoughts about it?
No, I like this article too. And I think it's just, those are really good points. Yes, the paleo diet was never ever meant to be like a low carb diet. It's just a different kind of carb diet.
Yeah.
It's a whole food carb diet, and the carbohydrates were not available year round either. While it's one thing to be like people who adopt a paleo style of eating were inspired by that ancestral idea of eating from the land and eating locally, and in season. And I think that the people who adopt this paleo style of eating also understand that we're not our ancestors either anymore. Like genetically and I always have trouble with that word. Physiologically, we have not evolved very much, but our lifestyles and our environmental factors and our food system has changed drastically. It would be unrecognizable to our ancestors today. So we live very differently. And we also have lifestyle diseases. And many of those lifestyle diseases are improved with the removal or the reduction of carbohydrates that are not whole food based.
Yeah, definitely. And we want to eat food that our body recognizes, not foods that our body rejects and then causes inflammation in the body. So, eating those whole foods. And I know the journalists always pick up that, we can't live like we did when we were in the paleo days. And we're not saying we can live that way. We're not out there hunting and gathering our foods. And, we can't possibly even imagine living like the way that they used to live. But we can incorporate some of the food philosophies around that time, foods that were good for us, foods that were cooked from scratch, foods that, make us eat seasonally and eat locally and those kind of things. We can do those kind of things, adopt those philosophies around food and implement them for a better lifestyle for us if we have the opportunity and the availability to do that.
Right.
But, in saying that, we have to live exactly the same way as them. It's never going to be possible. So
right. It's just easy to pick apart. If you want to pick apart a diet or a lifestyle, you have to pick apart something. And so that's it. That's the thing.
I'd rather eat food in their whole natural form than eat 2 weeks of donuts like some of those diets were suggesting anyway, because you just know that your body is going to feel so much more healthful when you do that. So, and anything from a packet as well. I feel just like, especially if I know like times when you go camping, you don't have access to fresh food and you have to eat some more foods that are more packaged and things like that. You don't feel great. You don't feel vibrant and full of health. The food doesn't feel alive. And so I think just choosing foods that are in their whole form that will make you feel more vibrant and more alive as well. So just adopting some of those principles that the Paleolithic people had, I think is a great idea. But yeah, not being able to expect to live exactly the same way, I think is the point there.
Yeah.
And they can form any arguments. I mean, like they're probably next they'll say like, that we've just discovered they only ate fish, and that's true for some people that lived on the coastline and others didn't eat that way. So, there's always going to be some arguments around there. And I can see that this one, I'm wondering if they're trying to make a case for veganism by trying to introduce that they ate more plant foods than we first expected.
Aren't they always trying to make a case for veganism? All signs point to veganism.
That's right.
All right. Anything else we need to touch on or share?
I don't think so. I think that's all we have for today, unless you've got anything there, Holly.
I do not. I think we can wrap it up.
Okay, we've got some exciting guests coming up in the next few weeks. Make sure you stay tuned. And that's the end of today's episode. Our theme music is created by Andrew Bowden, and production services are by Kevin Kennedy Spain of Disc of Light Media. Have a great week, everyone.
Have a great week. See ya.